It's Morning Edition on WNYC. I'm Richard Hake. An investigation into allegations of child sex abuse in the Jehovah's Witness organization has also uncovered a culture of secrecy at its Watchtower headquarters in Brooklyn. Trey Bundy is a reporter for Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting, and he's been looking at this for years, 2 years now. Watchtower leaders refused to talk to him, but he was able to talk to a former insider about the organization, and he joins us now. Trey, good morning.
Good morning, Richard.
So first, can you describe some of these allegations? How extensive is this, and for how long has it been going on?
Well, the allegations go back about 25 years, which is when the Watchtower first started issuing memos to elders around the country, instructing them to cover up child sexual abuse and to keep it from authorities. The extent of the abuse is hard to know because they so far refused to give up documents in court during civil lawsuits that detail everything that they know about child abuse in their congregations, including the names and whereabouts of abusers.
Now, what is the role of the Watchtower in all of this? I mean, how does the organization actually hide abuse from law enforcement?
So the Watchtower is run by 7 men known as the governing body. They're considered to be anointed by God. They approve all policies for Jehovah's Witnesses around the world, including policies on covering up child abuse. So, for instance, they send out memos to all the congregations in the United States explaining that child abuse is a confidential matter. It's not to be reported to the police. It's not to be discussed with other members of the congregation, and that doing so can result in punishment.
Now, talk about the two-witness rule.
That's where if there's an allegation of child sexual abuse by a member of the congregation, if there are not 2 witnesses to that crime, the elders don't do anything about it. And the reason they say is because the Bible tells them that no one's reputation should be besmirched, nobody should go to prison at the testimony of just a single witness. The problem with this is that child abuse is a crime that almost always happens in secret. There are rarely any witnesses at all.
Now, you spoke with a man named Howie Tran, who lived and worked at the Watchtower headquarters in Brooklyn for 7 years, starting when he was a teenager. What did he say about the culture there?
The reason for talking to Howie and going on this tour of the Watchtower headquarters with him was really just to understand what is this place. It's the nerve center of a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has interests in publishing, in real estate. It's the head of a religion with 8 million members, but it's this very secretive place. There are about 3,000 Jehovah's Witnesses who live at the Watchtower headquarters, which is this neighborhood in Brooklyn Heights, and they own about 30 buildings. But what's interesting is if you walk down the street, you don't see very many of them at all. You'd have no idea. And one of the reasons for that is because they've built tunnels to connect all the buildings in the neighborhood. And that's mostly how they move around, and they do this intentionally because they were concerned they would get a bad reputation for having bought up so much of the neighborhood.
And you believe that they have a database potentially containing the names of hundreds of abusers?
Actually, we think that the numbers are likely more likely in the thousands. And it's not just that we believe there's a database. They've actually admitted in court to having a database. So the Jehovah's Witnesses in 1997 issued a memo to all congregations around the country saying that from now on, elders are to fill out a form anytime they learn of a child abuser in their congregation, answer a series of questions detailing everything they know about the abuse, and send it to Watchtower headquarters. And those forms have been scanned into a database.
Okay, so if there's evidence of these files, why hasn't law enforcement actually maybe stormed the headquarters and taken them by force?
Well, we've asked a lot of attorneys about this, and they all say basically the same thing. The Jehovah's Witnesses court battles over the last several years have mostly been civil lawsuits brought by people who say they were abused by Jehovah's Witnesses. There's not a real clear pathway from a legal standpoint from a civil lawsuit to a criminal investigation. Because the Jehovah's Witnesses don't report child abusers to law enforcement, there are almost no criminal prosecutions, and it makes it much more difficult for law enforcement to jump in.
And let's talk about their headquarters. Last summer, Donald Trump's son-in-law, developer Jared Kushner, bought the Watchtower headquarters in Brooklyn Heights. The Jehovah's Witnesses have been building this massive compound upstate. This is in Warwick, New York, where they plan to relocate. What's the significance of the move?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Various people who used to be part of the organization and people who study the organization have different theories. One is that the Watchtower has been consolidating its properties and its branch headquarters around the world. But now we're talking about one of the hottest strips of real estate in the country. It's right on the East River, right across from Lower Manhattan. It's an absolutely gorgeous site. So the Watchtower, in selling its properties in Brooklyn, New York, has cleared more than $1 billion just on those properties alone, and they own properties all over the world.
Trey Bundy is a reporter for Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting. Trey, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.